Welcome back. It's Sunday morning at 25 minutes before 11 o'clock on the 11th day of April, 2021. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you can make it. Now, I'm doing this morning's video on the title of today's video is Diabetes and Mr. R MacKeigan, plus this year, 2021 marks the 100th anniversary of the discovery of insulin. It's not a cure for diabetes, but it certainly makes a vastly improved quality of life for many people. It was discovered by Doctors Banting and Best in Toronto and two Canadian doctors in 1921, and it's changed the life. But I just want to touch on Mr. MacKeigan for a minute on a couple of items. Mr. R MacKeigan, which I did the last video on. I'm going to make a quick follow-up here. I forgot to mention this last time, two items I'm going to mention. They both bear, and they're two extraordinary gentlemen. There's a young gentleman, a family in the Waikagama area, very smart guy, and he's very hard to get into these medical schools. In this case, he was going to be a pharmacist, and he got accepted in pharmacy school. I don't know why they have to accept you and what they charge to go there, but they have very high standards, and this guy certainly cut the mustard and met the standards. Personality-wise, intellect-wise, and compassion-wise. This fine young man, and he graduated with honors, and the gentleman was in a wheelchair, and he had difficulty getting employment. And Mr. MacKeigan this is how we opened up this Port Hawkesbury, Nova Scotia pharmacy. It was between the Bank of Nova Scotia, next to the Bank of Nova Scotia, and Sobeys Regional Store in Hawkesbury. So between those two stores, it was a really high traffic area. And he had lower counters, and it was a fine young man, and he was going to be the manager, lead pharmacist. And after the stores open a little bit, in a year or two, I'm not sure a certain time frame, but he takes and the poor guy got a virus and he died because you're paraplegic. You don't have feeling in your spine, and he didn't know he had. And sadly, that brilliant young man died. But that was Mr. MacKeigan. There's one more thing I'm going to tell you about. So they're both in heaven now. The young pharmacist that was in a wheelchair that had lots of intellect and compassion and great abilities, and Mr. R MacKeigan. And one more thing in Mr. MacKeigan is really important. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't do drugs. I don't hold myself out as holy thou or perfect, far from it. A mere mortal. Now, President Trump, interestingly, he neither drinks nor smokes or does drugs, and encourages kids likewise. And interestingly, he's not a big coffee or tea drinker. He's a milk drinker. I did not know that. He's a milk drinker like Albert Whitney and Casey Irving. He'll drink a bit of tea or coffee, but he's not. His energy comes from within. It's not caffeine driven or stimulant driven. Anyway, Mr. MacKeigan, when he opened up that store in Port Hawkesbury, his second pharmacy, MacKeigan's Pharmacy, Port Hawkesbury branch, cigarettes was a big thing. Go in the store and there'd be a big shelf of cigarettes behind the cashier. All Rotmans and Export A and Cameo and whatever, Belvedere. And Mr. MacKeigan felt, and I used to see this as a kid, the flyers used to come in from that big chain out of Toronto. Okay, SDM and other drugstores sold them too, but used to see in a flyer, deals on cartons of cigarettes on the holidays and so on. Does that really make sense when you're trying to keep people healthy or get back to good health? You sell cigarettes. Anyway, Mr. MacKeigan did not sell tobacco. And at that time, it's a low margin item, but I don't know, say he made 75 cents a package after the taxes on it. Okay, so it's a low margin item. Mostly tobacco and gasoline are similar. Most of the product goes to taxes, excise taxes. Okay, it's just a small amount is left for the retail. It's very still margin item, but it was a pharmacy in a high traffic area, great location. He chose well, Causeway Shopping Centre, and he didn't sell tobacco. And that he sacrificed $10,000 a year. Okay, I take a $20 bill out of my Sobeys card here. It'd be like 500 of these $20 bills he sacrificed. And they are talking 25, 30 years ago. That was a lot of money. That would pay a lot of bills and help to pay the rent and keep the store going. And he He was a man of great principle. Nowadays, of course, drugstores don't sell tobacco, but that was the principle of man. That was when I say God welcomed him to heaven, well done, faithful and good servant, and that he was represented the very best of Cape Breton Island. The very best of Cape Breton Island humanity. I'm not kidding. Somebody the other day, one of his friends told me he was a pharmacist. And his compassion for the people was fantastic. Anyway, I want to go on here to diabetes this morning. Nobody wants to eat unhealthy and get sick. That's not the nature. I seen something the other night, a very hard-working guy, and he lost 15 pounds in the last month. That's wonderful. You can't lose weight by starving yourself. It just doesn't work. But you change it. Breakfast eating. If I had to say one thing on weight control, is the pop industry won't like me for that, but I'm going to tell you a little story. The guy came in one time from, I'm digressing here, but it's a true story. The guy came in from Maritime Beverages, Pepsi Cola, and I said, if I was lost at sea in a rowboat, and I had a bailing can or bucket in the corner, and a case of Pepsi, I'd piss in the can and drink it rather than drink Pepsi. And a frown in the salesman's face. And I said, I tell you, if it was a case of Coke, it'd be the same way. Coca-Cola. Oh, he smiled at him. You just don't drink pop. I said, that's right, I don't drink pop. And I take it, that's the truth. If I had one thing to say, if people cut pop out of their diet, I don't care if it's no name or brand name, the amount of sugar in pop is phenomenal. Sugar is our enemy. It's out to get you. It's out to get you. President Calvin Coolidge, his wife, had hearing problems. He went to the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. and couldn't hear the minister at all. And got out of church away out, and this Mrs. Coolidge, she didn't have good hearing aids, and he was back in the 20s. Going out to, what did the minister speak about today, dear? And he said, sin. What did he say about it? And President Calvin Coolidge said back to his wife, he's against it. Sunday morning, I thought of that. What did he say about sin, dear? He said, he's against it. So anyway, sugar is it's a killer for people's weight and so on. And half a diabetic, sad to say, will suffer from vision loss or heart. Half a diabetic, statistically, suffer from vision loss or heart. And so I just watched a video on Friday, a 2-hour video, and that video was a 2-hour program on PBS on diabetes. And we have 335 million Americans in the United States. 100 million of them are diabetic or pre-diabetic. An actual outright diabetic that needs insulin or pump or control, for instance, take insulin of some sort to control their blood sugar. It went from 2 or 3% a decade ago up to 10%. So 2 or 3%, that'd be Uda twice, I famously say, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 3 people in every 100 had diabetes 1 decade ago. And the show was 3 years old, so that'd be like a decade plus 3 years. That produced in 2018, but still very relevant. Now, there's 10 people in every 100 with diabetes, and there's 9 or 10 times as many that are pre-diabetic that next number of years will find out that they have diabetes if they don't control their diet. Okay, so I'm not being preachy, but Mr. MacKeigan mentioned this one time, and I read an article on it. Years ago, and this applies to French and Scotch and all ethnicities, Irish and Syrian and East Indian and everybody. Years ago, people had old-fashioned lean and mean winters. It was lean and mean. When they said lean and mean, because by the end of the winter, they were down to potatoes and turnip or vegetables in the basement. The dad would go out and shoot a moose, or you get some smelts around that river, or the spring, or whatever. Get some chickens in the spring, and then spring lamb, whatever. So that, when you went through those lean, mean winters, it actually helped. When you're lean and mean, you tend to, and I know, it's a fact. Okay, lean, hard winters helped a lot. Now people have lots to eat in the winter, and often they have too much of the wrong thing. A buddy of mine, his mother sat by me in church, and he said, her son, I said, your son's getting kind of big. And she said to me, so-and-so his name, his mother Agnes said, he's eating too much of the wrong thing. And I told her, his wife, I said, I'd like to know what the blanket it is he's eating, because I'm the one doing the cooking. And she's a wonderful cook. But anyway, so too much of the wrong thing, too much junk food. But sugar and pop. Pop is thy enemy. Got that? Sugar and pop, but the pop in sugar is thy enemy. It's as simple as that. And I don't believe in drinking Diet Cola of any brand. I'm not picking on the major brand ones or the store labels. It's just, they say, light cigarettes or light pop, whatever. It's still a lot of sugar in it. Not good. Not good. The heck of these, when we have here lean mean, had years ago lean mean winters, and there's many people nowadays still don't have enough to eat. That's a video for another day. But generally speaking, as a general rule, when people had the lean, hard winters and didn't have enough to eat, they tended not to get obese. Now, I've known some very skinny people have diabetes, and I know some very big people don't have diabetes. Part of it is genes, but diet certainly has a lot to do with it. And one more point I want to make here is, I'd mentioned Mr. MacKeigan and his tremendous kindness to Terry Fox last in the video on Tuesday night. His tremendous kindness to Terry Fox, having met Terry Fox in person, okay, in the store. I mentioned this before. Next, tomorrow, Monday, the 12th day of April, tomorrow morning, Monday the 12th of April, will mark the 41st anniversary of Terry Fox's blessed beloved Marathon Hope for Cancer Research. He started at mile marker 1 of the Trans-Canada Highway in St. John's, Newfoundland. So he couldn't start with friendlier, nicer people next to the wonderful people in Cape Breton and Maritimes and across the country. But two especially nice groups of people. Newfoundlanders, put my camera back in line here. The wonderful Newfoundlanders, fantastic folks, and equally fantastic, wonderful Cape Breton. So just to sum up, Mr. MacKeigan, extraordinary guy, kindness to people, belief in people, and principle. A man of principle. Practice what he preached. I know another pharmacist who came in the store one day and said, if you got a diabetic, you got a really good customer then. I mean, what a thing to say. What a thing to say. Okay, that's just awful. He said, you get a totally different style than Mr. MacKeigan, okay? He might not be so welcome in the pearly gates or spend a lengthy deferral in purgatory, whatever, unless he has a conversion. But what a thing to say. If you've got a diabetic, you have a real good customer. So sometimes people can avoid diabetes. Some people are born with diabetes. There's a little guy showing on the TV, he was born as a diabetic. Okay, so that happens sometimes. I can't explain it, but we can help control diabetes by not drinking pop and watching the sugar and eating breakfast. I'm a big advocate of eating breakfast. So the kindness of Mr. MacKeigan, I've gone over already, the 100th anniversary, and justifiably so, wonderful gentleman, bless his kind heart, Christian heart, and he's a Christian not just on Sunday morning. He wasn't an hour-a-week Christian. Mr. MacKeigan was a Christian 168 hours a week, 24/7. And there's lots of other people that strive to do that too, but he was an extraordinary gentleman. Extraordinary. And it's not this year, 2021 right now, I have a calendar, but it's not this is my office room here, production studio. 2021 is the 100th anniversary of the discovery of insulin by two Canadian doctors, Dr. Banting and Best, in Toronto, Ontario. Banting and Best in Toronto, Ontario. So I'm pretty proud of that one. We have a lot more diabetes now than we used to have, and that is because of, basically, it goes back to lifestyle. It could not enough exercise, but eating too much of the wrong thing, as Agnes used to say. With that, I gotta go. I want you to share this. I ask you please to share this video far and wide over the internet computer machine. And each and every subscriber, it's extremely important. We're making great progress again. There's not one of you subscribers out there that's valued and appreciated. Till next time, Mr. John Pettipas. Right now, it's 10 minutes before 11 o'clock, so I've gone out somewhat longer than I expected. On Sunday morning, Pastor preached long, didn't he? Taking the Sunday morning, the 11th day of April 2021. Till next time, all the best and God bless. Thank you very much. Bye for now.